I would like to procure the bag.
I wanna be a rich bitch. Penthouse doorman, money, 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 rich bitch. Hey, give me that bag. Rich bitch.
Yes, you're so rich.
Pay me.
Like,
Hi.
I love summer, but I hate being hot.
I love summer also, and I also hate being hot, and Mike feels the same way.
Yeah, which is weird because he's Greek. You'd think he'd
Yeah,
be like, yes,
no, he
bring
hates
on
it.
the
He's
heat.
actually bigger. Sorry, Mike. He's actually more of a diva about it than I am. He's just, it's so funny. He's like, I'm dying right now. I need to turn. Like last night, I came home from a flight, and it was, and I said, it's hot. It's hot in here, and he didn't have the AC on, he had the fan going, and he was like, oh my God, I'm dying. Like, it's always like, oh my God, I'm dying. Oh my God. But also, like, that's the Greekness I love about him, is because, like, it's not just, everything's like that. Like, you know, like if he's hungry, he's malnourished.
Right.
If he's you know, like, because there's like, apparently he was talking about this, and again, this is going to sound deeply uneducated. I know nothing about Greek life until I was with a Greek man. But, like, he said there's no words for like, oh, that sucks. It's like, I suffer in Greek. It's like, I suffer. Because they're just like, so like, oh.
Right, there's no middle ground.
No. It's like
Either
full on.
everything's amazing or you're dead.
Yeah, and I love that because like everything is really real. Like it's very much like, this is how we feel. This is how we feel. Whereas like I'm from like white fam in the mid east, you know, the East Coast. Like just take your feelings and like, you know,
just push them down.
Yeah.
We
You
don't
can
need to
talk about them,
about
but
them.
also like get over your shit.
No, but we don't. Well, you're from a little farther south. than
Yeah,
I
yeah.
am. We don't talk about them. It was just like, this is fine.
Yeah, like my
Everything's
mom would
fine.
talk about him. My dad, what are feelings? So he's and I love him. He's like one of my favorite people.
We've gotten better with that as we've gotten older. But
Thanks, Weed Whacker outside. You're really killing it for us.
I mean, I was just gonna say, like, the building was on fire, and so they're like gutting
Oh my
apartments and changing them over.
well, you know, I guess that's the best outcomes. There's a guy fixing it, as
There's
opposed to
someone
the building's
fixing it.
gone.
Right.
Yeah.
It was. I don't remember if we talked about this yet. I think we might have, but like.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the building had an electrical situation that like burnt out 3 apartments, and
Yeah.
so they're replacing them. And I accidentally walked into my kitchen fully naked the other day, while one of the workers was in the kitchen across from me, and like looked over, and we made eye contact, and I was like,
Was he
okay.
cute?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, there's all that. Yeah, that's
It's like,
fine.
yep, I'm the naked neighbor.
You're like,
as
I'm the
always.
naked man from Friends.
For once, I would like to not be the naked neighbor. I would like to have a naked neighbor.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you've always been the naked one.
Yes.
Okay.
Like, and it's just whatever. It
That's
is
fine.
what it is. But like, just for once, just one time.
Just offer me up some.
Right,
That's what you're saying.
Right. Like, give me, like, I don't know. I'm not like looking in your window, but
No,
if
no,
I
no.
happen to glance over and there's a dick there, you know, I'm not going to be
So
upset.
you prefer a male naked person?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, obviously.
Yeah, I know. But I just wondered if you were just really, was it more about the principle, or was it about like actually seeing someone naked? Do you know what I mean?
It's both.
Okay.
It's
Because like
both.
could be anyone then, because like it'll even playing field, but then it'll be more enjoyable for you if it is male.
Right. But I also feel like in the same building is awkward. So I
Yes,
would have
it
to
is.
move into a building where I can see someone across the street.
Oh, right. Because this is the same building, right?
And then it's just like, yeah. And then
Okay.
it's just kind of like one of those moments where it's like, wait a minute, are they naked? And then you have to be
And you're like,
oh my
I'm
God,
also
they
naked."
are. I am no longer the naked neighbor.
Ed, the naked neighbor.
Right. I think that's the podcast episode
That's
title.
yeah, Ed, the naked neighbor.
The
Yeah,
naked
we
neighbor.
started with feelings. We've ended it on naked neighbors.
So I
yeah.
think it's time.
No,
to
but
catch up.
I do want to say I wanted to say yeah, like Greek culture is so much more like boisterous and outgoing, but emotional, which I love, because like the men are really in touch with how they feel, and it's not in a way that's like, oh, stop crying, like Jesus Christ. But it's like you never wonder like, how do you
Right.
feel about this? Like a lot of men have and it's because the world's programmed this way, aka the patriarchy has made men feel like I have a feeling.
Don't
You know,
talk
but
about
Greek
it.
men are like, oh, your hair, oh, everything is, oh, I suffer. You know, it's like so wonderful. I just find it to be great.
Actually, I saw there was a TikTok that went viral yesterday, the day before, of these 2 like Aussie guys who are driving in their car and they're trying to be like really like hard and straight or
Really
whatever.
cool, yeah.
And this just haven't met you yet song by Michael Bublé comes on. And they're like, oh, I fucking hate this song. Oh, this dude's such an idiot.
Just haven't met you yet.
And then they both start singing it in the car. And then they stop the car, they get out of it, and they do a whole dance sequence together. And then they get back in the car. So then the follow-up to that I saw today is that Michael Bublé found them, messaged them, called them, and invited them to his concert in Australia.
Oh my God.
Showed the video on the in the arena.
In the Jumbotron.
On the Jumbotron. And then, like, didn't interview, but, like, talked to the guys. Obviously, they had, like, a backstage moment. But he was like, that's what this country is all about. He's like, friendship and sexual ambiguity.
Pride.
Because it was funny. Like, they're such good friends. They worked together, and they were hugging, and they were, like, kissing each other on the head. And it was, like, it was so nice to see. Not because it's, like, hey, hot guys, like, whatever.
Yeah,
like, of course, yes, that too. But it's also just, like, why can't men just do that? Like, it's love and affection, and it's totally normal.
Kindness.
And kindness.
Vulnerability.
And camaraderie. And, like humans are just tactile beings. We need touch.
Right.
We need sensory,
Right.
stimulus. So, like, hugging someone.
And you can have that and have masculine energy.
Yeah, well, but it's not, it's not even about the masculinity.
But I
of
think it is. That's my
Right.
point, is that they're making it, the world's making it about masculinity, when in reality, I find my boyfriend extremely masculine, but he would still be down to, like, be sweet and kind and outgoing and do
So you're
things
saying that Mike would make out with me?
No, absolutely not. He's not into that.
But it's just friendship.
But
right?
it's just friendship. Wait, were they, like, making out? You said they kissed each other.
No, they were just
okay.
Like, they were just being.
Yeah, the
affectionate
story
with each
changes
other.
if you're
Totally
like, well, they were
changes.
tonguing each
Right,
other.
right, right.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, well, that's not what we're asking
The
every
one guy,
guy
like,
to do.
sat on his face and they were like, "I love you, man."
Okay, I was like, wait, I'm so confused by those.
No, but it's just like the affection. And I think it's not even.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with femininity or masculinity
No,
or anything. It's
but
just
people
like, what
make
do
it.
you as a person need?
Yes, and that's what it should be.
Agreed.
The problem is they make it that way, which is
course they
stupid.
do. It
And
is
it's dumb
stupid.
as fuck. Anyway, you love that. Feelings. Yeah, but I just, I think I had a family that talked about a lot of stuff, but it was really mainly with my mom, because she's like a, hippie from this, 60s, and a super sweet former art teacher, told me everything. She's the best. And my dad is like, if you need me, talk to me, like, but
If you need me, call me, no matter where you are.
out far.
And there we got a licensing violation.
So
slapped on us.
yeah, no, dude, we've had like 5 at this point. I just
I know,
haven't
we're
met
fine,
you yet.
we're
Okay,
fine.
it's fine. But anyway, so to get into the gig,
Well,
now that we're
actually,
7 minutes
I
in.
think that the masculine feminine energy thing, like, conversation is a really great segue into
Yes.
last night's Tony Awards. Oh my God.
Tell us all about it, because you were there.
I was there, and it was my first Tonys. I went with my friend Catherine Quinn. It was her first Tonys as well. We had such a blast. We were in the front row of the Mez, which means there were still 70 rows in front of us.
front
but
Mez.
It
Yeah.
was a joy. The United Palace Theater in Washington Heights, which is where it was being hosted, it was the first time it was ever uptown, was gorgeous.
It's one of my most favorite places. Have you ever seen it before?
No, I mean,
Oh.
I've biked past it, but I've never been in it.
Oh, I've been in it like 4 times.
No,
I saw like an
never.
orchestral thing there. I've seen films
It's
there.
insane.
It's gorgeous.
The detail work on those walls is just like.
Do you know
oh
why
my
it's like
God.
that?
No.
It's one of the original theater palaces. So back in the day when there weren't talkies and it was like silent film,
Mm-hmm.
they had these palaces that would play moving pictures. And it was such a big deal that they wanted it to be elevated constantly. So originally there were movie palaces, and that's one of the remaining ones.
Oh my God, I
Yeah,
love it. It's
yeah.
so stunning.
It's gorge.
But it was like celebrity infested, of course.
Yeah.
And like we just had the best time. Of course we made like the TikToks of it all. So like go watch that on my TikTok.
Yeah.
But
Where can they find you on TikTok?
at Edward Miskey.
There we go.
Super boring. But it was just such a delight. Mm-hmm. Obviously with the WGA strike there were no writers.
Yeah.
And the entrance of it, like the opener of it, was perfect because it pointed to that, and they still nailed it. Like Ariana DeBose, fucking queen, love
Yes.
her. She was the host, and it was like the opening shot was her in a dressing room. She opens up the script to the Tony Awards, and all the pages are blank, and she's like, and so she just decides to like do this full out dance number with all these dancers in the hallways and everything else. She does this leap off of a staircase into someone's arms that was like that made me like like
Was this like done live or
yes,
filmed?
it was
Oh
done
my
live.
God.
It was insane. It was so good. But anyway,
Wow.
so like she nailed every single second of this. The opener was great, and people were joking like, well, I guess we just proved that we don't need writers because this was wonderful. I know.
We definitely do, other than
Totally.
shows.
Yeah, and
like
like it
award
was
shows.
there was something very charming about watching some of these people like pull their commentary out of their ass, and I'm sure to a degree that they like
Had some sort of
rehearsed it and,
scripted
like,
thing,
right?
yeah.
And came up with stuff like a structure.
You
or
would hope
something
it's the
beforehand.
Tonys. Yeah.
Right. But it was wonderful. And there was so many things that happened last night that were just historically amazing. First and foremost, starting with the fact that Joel Grey and John Kander Kander? Yes. Wait. I'm confusing myself. John Kander, yes. The two of them got Lifetime Achievement Awards. They were both there together. Obviously, there's history there because Joel Grey originated the role of MC in Cabaret, which was written by Kander and Ebb. And the two of them are both gay men.
Joel Grey was going to be the officiant for my friend's wedding. And then when they had to reschedule it 3 times because of COVID, he did a beautiful video tribute to them and sent it. And he's just a delightful human.
Yeah.
Shout out to Drew and Stephanie. Your wedding was great.
He was the director of the Yiddish Fiddler in the city.
Directed my friend Drew and my friend Stephanie. Yeah. So many, we have so many friends in that show. Yeah. It's kind of weird.
It is so weird.
Yeah.
I knew like half the cast at some point.
Yeah.
But so I've gotten to meet him and interact with him because of that, and he's just like the most delightful human. He's like 1,000,000 years old.
I know.
But the two of them together was amazing. And then we had some really progressive wins last night, and it shouldn't be progressive, but it is because again, like the patriarchy and all that crap. But Alex Newell from Shucked and I think it's Jay Gee from Some Like It Hot.
Yeah.
Both trans non-binary humans both won Tony Awards. Which was incredible.
Has that happened before?
No. Well, okay. So the spin of it is that it's the first time that this has ever happened. But I think the real answer is that it's the first time that anyone who has been out and living out loud as a non-binary person or trans non-binary
that's been a thing with RuPaul's Drag Race too, because there have been trans queens who have won, but they later were transitioning. Whereas like Peppermint, I believe, or maybe it was the one before, who like was very open about that they were trans. Yeah.
So cool. I think the real point is that it's that
they're out living and doing their thing, and it's succeeding.
Right, and I'm sure that there are people who have been non-binary before who maybe weren't as out about it as the two of them are. Yeah. But oh my God, the two of them, the looks.
Wow.
Just slaying the game.
Yeah.
And then we had the guy who wrote, I'm going to get this show wrong.
It's fine.
He was a playwright. I cannot remember his name, but he had a great line where he was like, when I was growing up, I was called the F slur for a gay man my whole life. And they had to bleep this out on TV. There was a whole Twitter storm of like what he actually said.
Oh my God.
And I'm going to say it, so trigger warning who has any issues with the F slur for the gays. But he was like, I was called the F slur so many times growing up, but look at me now, I'm a faggot with a Tony.
That's awesome.
And I was like, yes. And
I love that.
I leaned to Catherine. I was like, I want that on a t-shirt.
Yes. Trixie Mattel says it all the time, just to be like, yep, you like that? Because, she's super gay, and her father used to call her Trixie, like to make fun of her. That's why her drag name's Trixie Mattel, and she's a millionaire and crushing it. Yeah. And she says that shit all the time. Yeah. She's like, yes, look at me, look at this. Giving her
like,
mama.
Yeah, you're right, I am. And guess what? I'm doing better than you are.
I think that's awesome.
I love it.
To me, it's like, it's different, very different, but it's like, when the word bitch, I'm like, this bitch. That's why I have bitch on like everything I do.
Yeah. It's
because it's like, she's a bitch, you're a bitch. I'm like, I'm reclaiming my bitchness. This is a bad bitch. Yeah. That's what I am.
So there were some really great wins last night. Yeah. I really would have liked to see Leopoldstadt won for a bunch of things, which is a great commentary on Jewish upbringing and all of that, which was really important and really great.
Right now, especially.
I would have loved to see Ain't No Mo win something. I would have loved to see Shucked win something more than leading actor. There were a couple things that I was like, I wish this would have won, but I'm not upset about any of the wins.
Good.
Kimberly Akimbo pretty much swept.
Wow.
Which was surprising. I figured that they would win a lot, but I haven't seen it, so I don't know. But based on what I've heard, I thought that they would win some things, but I didn't think they would sweep. I was really hoping Underdog Shucked would have swept. They're killing it at the box office, and they're doing just fine. So I think it doesn't matter.
Sure.
They'll still.
That's great to hear too. I like hearing that theater sales and ticket sales, because I'm so out of that. Like I pay attention to movie stuff. I pay attention a lot and to streaming views and stuff like that, because it really impacts my whatever, and I'm very interested to hear how theater's doing.
Yeah, well, they publish the grosses every week on Playbill.
Oh, that's cool.
I typically don't read them, but Catherine, who took me to the Tonys last night, she always will do like a TikTok on the grosses every so often to like follow up on who's doing what and how they're doing. And she was checking them last night as shows were winning and stuff, just to kind of reference like.
What's your friend's backstory?
Catherine?
Yeah.
She and I did 42nd Street together in 2015.
Oh my God.
She was Anytime Annie and I was Julian Marsh, and it was just such a dream show.
Yeah.
I'm still in touch with several people from that cast, and it was just such a dream. But she and I stayed friends. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it's been 8 years, and she has changed a lot. I've changed a lot. We're both going through a lot of things all the time. And during the pandemic, I would bike up here to Washington Heights to visit her because she lives in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And then when I moved up here, I was like, oh my God, I'm only a couple blocks from you. And so now, of course, like I see.
We're all up here.
Yeah, everyone's up here. It's wonderful.
Oh, it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's such an artist.
Well, and also like to the point of the last point I'll make about the Tonys.
Oh, please say as many points.
So many points.
We love Tony.
There were a lot of other great things that happened. Victoria Clark won a Tony, which was great. Casey Nicholaw finally won a Tony after like 20 years of work.
Literally.
Deserved to. Some like it hot the choreo, and that is insane.
Yeah.
The chase scene in Act 2, I could watch that all day. It's like it's like a 9-minute tap number. It's so good.
Wow.
Yeah, holy shit, it's good. But you know, having the Tony Awards up here in Washington Heights, I think despite the fact that yes, transportation to and from was frustrating for the actors, and like I don't understand why the Tony Awards, like Tony Sunday, they still are made to do shows.
Yeah.
I think that's ridiculous. What? Why?
Wait, what?
Yeah. So like most of those shows did matinees, and then they had rehearsal for the Tonys in the morning. They went and did a matinee, and then they came back uptown to do the award show, which is ridiculous. And most of the time, if you're performing, you're sitting in a bus. Like Catherine was getting videos from the Shucked people because she worked on Shucked. She was like the writing associate or something like that. And like we were getting videos from them. They were just like sitting in a bus waiting to go on like for hours. And wow. And I think part of that was because there was not a lot of room backstage.
Yeah, because it's a movie house.
Right. So they don't need a backstage.
Yeah.
But you know, I think that what it showed, because it was such a success and they were able to pull it off.
I've heard a lot about it.
Is not necessarily let's do it in Washington Heights every year, but let's decentralize it and go to these like big historic movie houses or vaudeville houses that are all over the city.
Oh my God.
That are not necessarily Broadway houses.
And they're beautiful.
They're beautiful. And everyone had a great time. It was hot as balls. Everyone was sweating to death. Yeah. But I would really love to see like Tony Awards Queens edition, where like we go out and do like something in one of the old theaters out there if there are any, or up in the Bronx, or like just decentralize it and bring it to neighborhoods that like could use the business, honestly. Right. You know, after the award show was over, there was a spill out into like all the restaurants nearby. And like if they weren't going to the Tony party at the theater, like there are bars and restaurants over there that you could go to like do all the things.
I know where all the bars are around there.
Exactly.
I know exactly where to go.
And it was really, and also on top of that, and this does happen in other neighborhoods when they do it, but there was just something really special about it for Washington Heights because it was the first time.
Yeah.
There were crowds of people lining the streets watching us come in. Watching everybody come in and like live streaming it and zooming and waving at us. It was like a Miss America pageant where we were just like, hello.
Fun.
It was so charming.
It's so beautiful, and it you know, especially like for one of the biggest musicals of all time, In the Heights, to have it in the Heights is pretty epic.
For sure.
I mean, it's just such a great, I don't know, it's Lin-Manuel, I'm sure, had a big hand in this.
He did. I think he actually was the one that got the ball rolling on renovations for the United Palace.
Yep.
Did you tell me that? I forget.
Maybe, but yes, he also did the Q&A before we saw All About Eve, and he did it. It was just so fabulous, and there's just something very wonderful about how much he gives back to his neighborhood and how much
he still lives in it,
loves it. I mean, you can't help but love it up here. I'm sorry.
No, it's beautiful.
It's so fun and chill, and everybody's cool
and vibrant when it needs to be.
Vibrant, and then we've got a beautiful parks, and we have things
many parks,
and there's no tourists. It's fantastic.
Well, sometimes with the cloisters, but like
but that's like artsy tourists. It's not like, look, it's
a Sephora.
Yeah, exactly. Look, it's Olive Garden, but more expensive with less items. Yeah, it's like It's like, are y'all good?
In Times Square.
In Times Square. It's like, are we okay?
Are you all right?
Are you guys okay?
I know. I always wonder that too. Like, because I mean, obviously, I grew up in Pennsylvania.
No,
like,
I have no room to talk. I'm sure my family
totally.
and I did that the first time we came.
The
here,
first
I'm
time we
sure.
came to New York, we ate at the Applebee's on 42nd
Okay, there you
Street.
go.
So like,
Yeah.
I
Ooh,
know.
the Applebee's. Yikes! Yeah, we
But
don't
I
even go
think
near
part
those.
of it is like decision paralysis because there's so many choices. But also like if you're not from here or haven't lived here, the only place you really know is Times Square.
Yeah.
And so you're like, let's spend the whole day
We would do
there.
that, and then when I came here for school that summer, and I really got to know the city, it was all over these streets. I literally like fell in love with Little Italy so much. Like Mulberry is so gorgina in the summer, spring, anytime. So my family, then after that, every time we come to the city, we go down to Little Italy, and there's this Da Janeiro is our favorite spot. It's beautiful. It's like gold with glass and
Yeah.
But like if you don't know where to go for some good food, like sometimes you're gonna make a thing. But like I don't know, man. After that first time, we all were just like, we will never do this again.
Yeah. I mean, and I was also like, I think 13.
Exactly.
So
I was
like,
like
I
a
didn't have any
child.
say in this. It was
Yeah, that's true.
Like, my parents were like, we'll go to Applebee's. It's like, okay.
I think my parents tried to like go to spots like off the beaten path, like on Times Square, but it's still just like a pub that's a touristy pub.
One of my earliest memories of New York after that, because like obviously I came when I was 13 and then I came up for my 16th birthday. My aunt got me tickets to Wicked and then I came back to see Rent. And I brought like friends from high school and like and whatever. So I got to see Wicked. And I got to see Hairspray. Hairspray, Wicked, and Rent were like the three that I saw when I was in high school.
When that Rent was on, was that the original?
No, it was
No, it
Frenchie
wasn't.
Davis and Drew Lachey.
Okay, yeah.
And it was great. I mean, I loved
Yeah.
it. But my friend Amy and I were up here together. I think it was Amy. I don't know. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And we went to John's Pizzeria on 44th.
Yeah.
And we ordered some stuff or whatever. And this was like back in the cash days. This was pre-debit card, right?
Wow.
So we were like trying to be very careful about like what we were spending.
Yeah,
we
what we're
still
carrying
needed
too.
to and leave the city and whatever. And this guy who was our waiter comes over. And, you know, Amy and I, we both had jobs in high school.
Sure.
We both were like working.
Yeah.
And so we were like, we have money. It's fine. Blah, blah, blah. You know, like we had an ATM card. We could just go take out more cash if we needed to. This is how old I am. And so this waiter comes over and he's like, do you guys want anything else? Like, whatever. And I was like, yeah, I'll just have a coffee. And he was like, an Irish coffee? And I was like, yeah, sure. Why not? Thinking like an Irish cream
Yeah, you thought it
coffee
was
because I was 16.
Yeah, you were like, that sounds
And
great.
Amy
Do
was
you have
like, Amy was like, that
a
sounds
Irish
good. I'll do the
coffee?
same.
Yeah, I'll do the same thing.
And so this waiter just made the assumption that like that's what we wanted. And
Heavy.
he brought it back and took our stuff and we both like cheersed our coffee and drank it out of the glass mug. And we're like, oh my God, it's in a glass little mug. It's so cute.
Ooh.
And we drank it and I was like, this doesn't taste like coffee. And she was
Just
like,
coffee,
and
yeah.
she was like, I think there's alcohol
Oh,
in
yes,
this.
there is. That's
And we weren't, I don't want to say we were shit faced, but we were
Yeah.
definitely like, we just had alcohol. Oh my God, we have
God.
to drive home.
yeah,
We're going to
yeah.
die. It was hysterical.
That's so fun.
It was but like John's Pizzeria. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I mean,
I love, man.
you served me alcohol when I was 16.
Well, I'm not just gonna say where, but there were spots coming to film school, you know, in New York City. Well, it was acting, but yeah, Stone Street Studios Film and TV Workshop through NYU, where I would go. Miles Teller's from there, Rachel Brosnahan's from there. We've got a great group of people that came out of that program. And it really taught me about film and TV. Really changed my mind about whether I want to do theater or I want to do film. I thought I always wanted to do theater. And then the minute I was doing film, I was like, and I love film now. That's what I want to do. Hi, person grading on the side of the building. But it's fine. The sounds of New York, you
We're
guys.
cutting the walls up.
It's vibrant up here. It's vibrant up here. That's gonna be our slogan every time anything happens, like a firework explodes
Right.
or like
It's vibrant
somebody
uptown.
screaming in the street. We're like, it's vibrant up here, good or bad. It's vibes. But yeah, no, I mean, there were a couple places that I went and I looked like I was 10. I mean, there's no reason. I mean, I was like a little babu, maybe not even 18. Was I 18? Yeah, 18, 19.
Yeah.
And it was like, they were like, yeah, just here's some wine, go for it. I'm
Yeah.
like, wow,
But I
New
mean,
York
back
is
then
good.
they weren't carding as much back
No,
then.
they weren't.
I mean, I had a couple places that I would go to regularly because I knew they wouldn't card.
Mm-hmm.
And there was like the off chance that they would.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, oh, I forgot it. Oh, I didn't. Even though I fully had my ID in my pocket and it just said that I was 19.
Yeah.
But, you know, we would go to like try to go to the 18 and overnights. Like the Splash
yeah.
used to have an 18 overnight. And like it was a whole thing. You
Splash.
got Splash, man. And then the stupid part about that is that you would get a wristband if you were under 21, but
Yeah.
then you could just take the wristband off and still get drinks.
Nice.
Good times.
Good times.
Good
I love the
times.
thought through of it all. I think the point is there isn't any, and they don't care.
No, they don't care.
They're just going through the motions.
Truly. But let's
Tonys. We're
circumvent that conversation back to the Tony Award WGA thing of it all,
Yeah.
because that was the thing that a lot of people mentioned in their speeches about
Right.
solidarity, and how there was one woman who was talking about how she was staunchly union in her family and this, that, and the next thing.
Love
So let us get an update, because I know we have one about the situation with the WGA.
Yeah, well, the WGA, I can only say a little bit that it's still going on, and there's still a lot of them not working. There's still a lot of them, picketing as they should, as is their right and as they should be. And what I hate is like with any strike, and I'm hoping to get out on the picket line this week. I know I will next week for sure, but my week's just crazy every single day. Just got even as we were sitting here, like, you got another job interview, I got an audition, I got something else going
Everything's
on. I'm
insane.
like, nothing ends, nothing ever ends. But what's cool, and that's a song I made up, so that's not going to get us copyright strike. Yay!
Yeah, so WGA, I don't have too much to say other than in solidarity, and that I feel for them, and the fact that
They are now months in or so, and it's still the producers are not helping or giving in or whatever, playing ball. It's just like getting stupid. But since our last episode that we recorded, I believe it was right before the strike authorization. These are all in different orders, guys. So if you're confused by that, sorry about that. And I hope you enjoyed all of our episodes. I mean, we came out with how many? Like 7, 8 now by the time this is out?
It'll be 8.
Yeah, that's hot. And we have a bunch
We have
in
a
the
backlog.
Yeah, we have so many episodes, you guys, and we're really excited because everyone's
Hold on to your
responses have been
asses.
like, "You guys are crazy and
We are
funny,"
crazy.
and also
My dad
like,
loves it.
yeah, your dad. Love that your dad loves this. That's awesome.
I know. It feels so out of character.
Yeah, no, but I love that.
Same.
That's brilliant. But yeah, so so since the last episode, the SAG members voted to strike authorize. If at the end of our deliberations, that's the end of this month, the 30th, if we don't like what they're doing, and we don't like how it's going, we gonna strike. So we got the votes. It was pretty epic. Like, I made my video like Hail Mary at the end. Like, I was really trying to get as many people, because really I can make that video in the beginning. I can make it a weekend, or I can make it the day that is happening, and that's when people really pay attention. I hate that about humans, but that's what we do.
I know.
It's what we do. It's what
Yeah.
we do. I've done crowdfunding stuff. That's what happens. I've
Well,
done.
I was gonna say that happens with like ticket sales stuff
Mm-hmm.
and stuff too. Like working in like marketing, press, PR stuff
Yeah.
too. It's like you have like a 2 to 3 week window for press releases and other social media. Obviously, bigger press things that require a pitch is a bigger window, but
Yeah.
like the long and short of it all with press is like you have 2 weeks.
You literally
And that
do.
last week is a big push because people make up their mind the day before, 2 days before.
They do.
Like there's no
Or they're
planning.
like, oh shit, that's today. What do I do? You know,
Right,
and it's
yeah.
like, I made that video on my Instagram. That's at Sarah Seeds, and I did like a video just about how it's very important to vote yes, because it's for a number of reasons. It shows the solidarity of our group. It shows that we're coming in the room all on the same page. It shows that we are not gonna just take a bad agreement. And that we're here in solidarity, both as our union, Screen Actors Guild of American Federation of Television and Radio Artists, and with the WGA, the Writers Guild of America. So we won the vote, and it was 98%. It was like 97 point,
I think it was
88 or
97.7.
yeah, or something. 7 FM, yeah.
97.7 FM.
Kiss FM. Yeah, no. 97.7. Yeah. But
Kiss FM.
mwah.
stupid.
Mwah.
Mwah. So
No, not that.
anyway, I don't know what's going on. That was a sloppy kiss. That's sloppy kiss FM. 97 point. But anyway, so we got the vote really, really strongly. And what I will say is something that I did the last day when I made that video. I kept like on my DMs on my Instagram, a lot of people were DMing me questions. Like, wait, why should I vote though? Yes. And I was like, let's talk. And I would do voice memos with them, like continuously through my DMs. I mean, there was a couple people that literally didn't know anything about it. They thought that immediately if they voted yes, we went on strike now. And, you know, I thought it's been very clear that that's not what's happening, but people still thought that. So I was happy to tell them. I was like, no, this is like, the whole idea of this is so we don't have to. Because if we continue this trend of like how the producers are treating us, like they're treating the writers, we will have to. So why don't we preemptively come in with a big stick and say, hey, we're going to do it unless you do this. So anyway, it was to prevent it. So I'm so glad it passed. We got a large chunk of the body voted, which never is the case in elections and or union voting stuff. I mean, I don't know what
That
the
sucks too.
I know,
mean,
it's so
that happens
annoying.
with equity also. It's always like 3% of the body votes, and it's
Oh
like,
my
guys, how
God.
do you expect anything?
We
to
had
get
we had
done?
about 50% of the body,
Yeah,
which is huge.
I made that number up. I don't actually know what it is.
No. But the average for SAG-AFTRA, I think, for like just saying yes to our contracts or whatever within us are like 20%. You know what I mean? And it's like, that sucks. I mean, what is the U.S. election is what, like 30-40% votes?
Even worse.
It's fucking bad.
Yeah. Well, like what really makes
Stupid.
me LOL about the whole thing is that like those are the percentages. I don't know actually what equities is.
Yeah.
But then the people who don't vote are always the ones who are bitching
Yelling.
about things not changing.
This
And
is
it's like-
ridiculous.
It's
Why
like,
isn't
right,
this
well, did you
happening?
vote? Okay, great. Well, then maybe do that next time. And that just like is such an LOL to me. It's like, oh God, like
Yeah, it's like, of
please
course
make
you're the
it
one who's
stop.
angry. Like, you're also the one who didn't participate. And I understand there's like a level of, especially when it comes to our country, there's a level of disenfranchisement when it comes to voting. And I understand that. But I personally feel, from my perspective, and I can only speak on that, that if you're not going to participate, then you've given away your rights already. Like, of all the things, that already are taken from you, why not
You're just
use?
adding to the
Please
pile.
just try to do the one thing that you're given.
Yeah. Well, and I think the other thing that is confusing, and I don't know why, to people in actors' equity, and I don't know if this is true for SAG as well, but for some reason I found that a lot of people are under the impression that it is equity's job as a union to make sure that they're working.
No.
And it's like, no, not at all. Never once have they
When
ever...
you're working under their contracts, you're protected.
Right. And I
That's
mean,
the point.
I had a friend or two work in the contract office at Equity,
Mm-hmm.
and they were one of those people that were like, oh, Equity cares that you're working. And they went and worked in the contract office for like 6 months. And they were like, no one there gives a shit if you're working. I was like, of course they don't.
Yeah.
It's a union. It doesn't matter if you're working. What matters is that when you are working, you're protected.
Yes.
And
Like, I know in SAG, I'm sure they want you to work this. That's why there's free things that are
Of course.
thing. But like, the job of a union is not to always,
They're not
at
an
least for
agent.
this one. Yeah, at least for this. Like, it's not like a job board down at the, what do you call it? Like a local whatever down at the dock where they want you to sign up to get work or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like a
down at the dock.
federation. I don't know what it's.
on the dock of the bay.
I'm just thinking about The Wire season 2. I don't know how to vocalize what I'm saying.
No,
but-
I know what you mean. But it's like
they want us to work, but it's like that's not really the job. The job is we're paying these dues and these things, so our contracts are elevated. So we have lawyers protecting us. So we have things in place to protect us. That's literally the point.
Well, and Equity has always treated the body as a privilege to be a part of, which it is.
Mm-hmm.
However, they've also treated it at the same time as if though it was merit based.
Oh,
And I think that is such a dangerous conversation to have within a union because it is not, again, like we've had this conversation.
yeah.
And I don't want to repeat myself,
Yeah.
but it is not the union's job to make sure that the creatives are getting the best people. It is the creatives' job to make sure that they're
They're
getting
the best people.
themselves the right people. And I just think that that too many people in the industry lean on the union to solve all their problems when really it's just
Yeah,
your job.
I went to a meeting back when they were in person. They're back now, but some of the New York meetings for SAG-AFTRA local, and it's huge. We fill up the whole theater, and we talk. And some of the complaints on the mic, literally, this girl came up and, sorry, girl, if you're hearing this, but literally came up and was like, I do background work. And I'm like, cool. She's like, this is what I do. And there's a lot less work for people with picture cars. There's a lot less work for cars of this kind. And the union's like, okay, we'll just go call every creative and make sure they make a 1980s show for you so you can use your car more. Like, that's not what this is. Like,
No,
are you
it's
serious?
not. Oh my
What does that have to
God.
do with anything? Like, you're coming to our local meeting where we need to bring up stuff we're seeing on sets, where we need to bring up like things that I think our healthcare plan needs to adapt, or bringing up, let's talk about ways to improve all these things, but not. My work is less with my 80s car what's up with that? And the union was like, well, we aren't in charge of who makes anything.
I'm not your agent. I'm not the casting director.
Also,
I'm
not
you.
I'm not the showrunner of The Deuce. I'm sorry that, you know, they don't want your car. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like,
Yeah.
it's one thing to complain, like, there needs to be, like, there's not enough background work. There needs to be more SAG-AFTRA actors on sets and stuff like that. Sure, you can bring that up, but that's really dependent on how many shows are happening. And honestly, there's so many shows happening, so it's not really a thing.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like with the strike of it all, and depending on how long negotiations go, there's going to be a huge bump in need for content.
Yes.
And so there will be a huge bump in job availability.
Yeah.
Which is great. Also, I'm glad you brought up The Deuce.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if we've ever had this conversation, but The Deuce is one of the reasons why I was like doing a hard left turn into TV in 2019.
Oh, yeah?
I
didn't know about this.
I did a day on set for The
Okay.
Deuce. I was featured background
Yes.
because I was like dick out, fully naked.
Oh, one of the gay
The whole
Yeah,
day.
one of the characters is so awesome, and it's like
Yeah, but
it's
I
like
wasn't
his
in a gay
journey.
scene. I was in like it was like this football locker room gangbang scene with a cheerleader.
Oh, you were in one of the scenes for the movies.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, fully naked.
Work.
And it was such a fun day, and I will tell you, like, Alicia Rodess, who's like the intimacy coordinator
Yeah.
for HBO, and she was like the first pioneering the way for
Yeah, gotta love
others.
'em.
She was
Gotta
there,
love
and
'em.
like, what a queen. And I mean, it was just the best experience I could have possibly had on set. And I made more money in a day than I did in a month at that time. And I was like, I gotta go. I can't keep doing this shit. I need to. So, like, what I did that summer is I saved up a bunch of money, paid to have a reel done, and started auditioning for TV and film, and immediately got a short film, which is still on Hulu. I had
Amazing.
no idea. The guy who directed it was South by Southwest winner.
Work.
And like, I don't look these things up. I'm just like, cool, day on set, cool. I get
Yep.
to be a feature principal player on a short film.
Yeah.
And I get there, and the woman playing opposite of me is like, do you know who this guy is? I was like, no, I saw his name was like whatever. And she's like, he won South by Southwest. And I was like,
Work.
cool. I think I know what that is.
Yeah, it's
What
a
is that?
festival.
For
Yeah.
whatever reason, I thought it was like a BMX thing.
Oh my god.
I was like, cool.
Cool, he won
Bikes.
BMX. he's Tony Hawk Pro Skater.
Because I was such an idiot. I was so new and I didn't know what to do. And
That's amazing.
that day was like such a crash course on being on set. Not even just like
Right.
like reset back to one, all that stuff I already knew. But
Yeah,
like
sure.
it was more so that
Checking the gate. Yeah.
that we were doing like stunts. We were doing green screen.
Yeah.
We were doing like reshoots of stuff like and in someone's home in Brooklyn. Like it was
Wow.
so many different elements
Oh,
that you
so many
don't
moving
always
parts.
get in a film shoot. And like the green screen thing was so cool, and they were CGIing the floor so that like burned up and fell out from underneath us, and like I had to do this backwards fall onto a mat a bunch of times. Like it was so fun.
That's so fun.
And like didn't make a whole lot of money doing it. Doesn't matter. It's like immortalized on Hulu in like the what is it? The Bite Size Halloween series. It was
Work.
season 1. And it was the most fun I've ever had. And I was like, this is the right choice. Like I want to do this all the time. This is so
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
And then COVID hit.
Yeah.
And I was
know.
like, oh shit.
yeah, like, ah, shenanigans.
And that derailed everything. But I know what you're saying by like, you know, the whole when you were talking about being at NYU and making that transition from
Oh, yeah, it's
theater
something
to
clicked.
TV. Something clicked.
Something
And
clicked.
it wasn't just the paycheck. The paycheck helped. But
Just good.
it was just like the organization and the way that everything is choreographed, from the director to the intimacy coordinator
Sure.
to the props person to everything.
all the moving pieces that are not what I love too is like film and television can take a pause. You know, we're not doing this live, so we can just take a minute and we can reset. We can have our energy conserved, right? I mean, even though we're doing long hours, even though we're doing like incredible things, it's just such a varied experience. And what I love too is, although you do it once, you do it twice, you do it 3 times a lady, and whatever how many takes you do, and then you walk away, you never do it again, but it's forever
Yeah.
because it's been filmed.
And that has always been my gripe with theater, because I have done some really good work that I was really,
I know
really
you have.
proud
Live
of.
theater is
And I have
astounding.
nothing to show for it.
I feel the same way, dude. My whole life, since I was like 7, I did theater, then regional, then I was doing like big productions in Richmond. Came up to DC, did a couple things in college. I don't have any footage of anything.
Nothing.
I have photographs of me then. I have things like that. And it was such a magical, beautiful experience, but I can't, other than a memory, I can't really take it with me. Whereas like some little shorts I did when I first got here, I was like I was like the girl in the music video for like a band, Socialist Pirates, love them.
Yes.
And it was such a great experience, but I can go find it and watch it and be like, hell yeah, 22-year-old Seeds with her whip out and going crazy, like work sis, like, or and then like I'm like in one scene I'm like the good girl because he's fantasizing about me in all these different ways, but I'm like owning them as opposed to being like a damsel, so it's really cool. And like one I'm like a dominatrix, one I'm like walking through the park really cute, one I'm like on the subway just like chilling. You know, it's like really interesting. And it was one of the first things I shot. You know, and here's like little 22-year-old, 21-year-old Seedsy and just like having a blast. And I've filmed so many things since, but it's like that is that feeling where you're like, regardless of what happens, like I'll have this.
Yeah,
People will have this to look at.
There's so many. I'm just like, as you're talking, I'm like thinking about shows in my head that I'm so proud of that I wish I had anything for. I mean, that poster on my wall behind you, that show Rooms. I mean, I was 22, 23 years old.
Yeah.
And it was a 2-person musical that was 90 minutes long. Wow. It was from the top of my range to the bottom of my range. I had to learn how to do a Scottish accent and play guitar. Wow. And it was wild. And I was so proud of it. And I was just like, so into it. It was a little black box. No one was coming to it. And I did everything I could to try and get butts in seats. I was doing radio interviews that the artistic director had no idea I was doing because I was just emailing people during the day.
You're just like doing it. I love that
I was my own press agent back
then. You
then.
were hustling.
I was, but I have nothing to show for it. I have some photos.
That's what I mean. It's a shame because it doesn't mean it absolutely happened.
Right. But then you also get into the trap where no one has this, right? Like nobody has access to digital media of anything they've ever done. So you were just giving everyone the benefit of the doubt that they were brilliant because they're proud of it. So like I could have been total shit. I don't know. But I'm like, you know, jerking myself off over here being like, I was amazing. I wish I had video. And I could watch it back and be like, oh no. I'm
sure you were. You were.
But
I can tell. I just know.
Thank you. Yeah. But I just wish that I had something, you know. It's one of the reasons why I chose to write a book instead of doing something else because you can print that. I can hold it in my hand.
Yeah.
These are 230 some pages of something that I have made myself. And same thing with TV film, like you're talking about going back and looking at the archives of the things that you've done.
Yeah.
You're able to do that.
I can.
And I love that. And
my reel is chock full of like 6 things each, just comedy, just everything. And drama. And it's like, and I also have the full files of all of them, and I can watch them on Amazon. I can watch them on whatever. And the ones that I wasn't particularly obsessed with, even though they're on Amazon, and that's fine, girl. The money from me, like. Yeah. But it's interesting to me. It's like exactly right. It's like it sucks growing up to doing so much theater, and I know you did the same thing. I did so much theater, like from 7 to whatever, and like some of these casts were like unparalleled. Like you became a family, right? And like you said, some you keep in touch. You know, a lot of my friends growing up in the theater scene in Richmond, I'm still very close with some of them. You know, not all of them, but just some. You know, and it meant a lot because some of these shows, although no matter how good or bad they were, mostly they were good. I feel we created a family, we created like a whole thing, and I don't have anything from it other than photographs.
Yeah. Well, and there's two points I want to make. First of all, like to the family and bond that you create during theater, like, you know, and I'm only bringing this up because today is the 18-year anniversary of the death of a friend of mine who I grew up doing theater with, and her dad is still a good friend of mine, so is her mom. Kristen Troxel, I did theater with her growing up, and she was hit by a train when she was 19, and
oh my God.
Yeah, it was really bad. It was a terrible accident, and there are now, you know, train rails that go down to where that was at because there weren't before. And, you know, she was such a talent that I looked up to as a kid, growing up with her and doing theater with her and then becoming friends with her and you know, like seeing her a week before it happened and like so all this weird shit that happened after she died too. Like I saw her once in her old apartment after she died. It was
really
so strange.
What do you mean?
It was New Year's and I was
and you were in her apartment?
I was in her because I'm still friends with her old roommate.
Okay.
Her name's Rainey, and she and I were having a little party at their apartment with a bunch of our mutual friends, and I was sitting in her old bedroom on her bed at the end of the hall on the phone with one of my friends in New York, just like, Happy New Year, blah, 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 blah. And I saw this girl walk out of the bathroom into the kitchen, which was right next to each other. So it was
Yeah.
like a 5 or 6 foot span between the two doors.
Yeah.
And this girl was wearing a pair of jeans and a white top with red flowers on it, like little red flowers and a little like crew neck. And I didn't recognize her like as someone that I knew, like looked familiar, but I didn't like couldn't pin who it was. And so I hung up the phone and I walked down the hall and I looked in the kitchen and I was like, everyone was wearing dark colors, like solids. No one was wearing a floral print at all. And I said something. I was like, you guys, I think I just saw Kristen. And they were like, that's not funny.
Yeah.
And I got screamed at and whatever. So I kept it to myself. I didn't talk about it ever again until years later. I think this was when I was having cancer treatment. I went for coffee with her sister and her brother-in-law. And I was like, guys, I want to tell you something that I've never told anyone before since it happened. And I just feel like I need to say it. And so I told them what happened. And both of them were like sheet white. They were like, that shirt is what they found her in. And I was like, shut the fuck up. And so then they started telling me all the things that have happened to them since.
Oh, wow.
It was wild. But only bringing this up to, first of all, just say her name and make it important because Kristen Troxel was a fucking talented woman who built her face off.
Damn.
And, you know, that's just part
So
of
young.
So young. And that's part of like living in, I mean, Earth, but also like the families that you create. Like it's super special.
Yes.
And then again, like when something like that happens, you don't have anything to show for it. Like there's so little of her that exists because we didn't have the technology for one, and
the
two, you
phones.
can't really.
Yeah.
So
About the performances,
it's just like there's a lot of reasons why I think that we need to push in the actors union in theater to like allow filming beyond archival.
Yes.
Because like it would be nice to just have something. You know, my friend Peter, who passed right before COVID hit, like he, you know, there's not a whole lot of archive stuff of his, and he's done things that are major that like people saw.
Right.
You know, I have rehearsal footage of him and whatnot, but, you know, we need to move into the digital age. But
It's important.
to that point, and I don't want to harp on this too badly because it's sad.
Yeah.
But I saw a TikTok the other day that I wanted to ask you about on purpose when we had this because it has to do with the WGA and strike and writers and everything else. So this guy, I forget what his name is, it doesn't matter. He was talking about how getting a second job as a writer isn't a thing. And I was like, just the way that I might explain it wrong, and I will preemptively say I'm sorry if I'm painting this in the wrong way. But he was talking about how, you know, people are like, writers, they get like $50,000 for 10 weeks of work or whatever. But then like, he was like, yeah, but then you might not work for another while. And like, you can't just go get another job because you have to sit at home and you have to write sample scripts for other things that you're applying for jobs for. And I was like, yes.
It's a very difficult.
That is true. It is difficult, but that doesn't mean you can't go get another job.
No.
I know so many writers who have second jobs, and he kind of was like, I don't think, you know, second jobs for writers is the flex that you think it is. I was like, or instead of getting fair pay.
Who says it's a flex?
Well, he was saying like, I don't think saying getting a second job instead of having fair pay is the flex you think it is. I was like, it's not a flex, man. Like by all means, pay them fairly. However, actors do this too, and I'm bringing this up because the woman that I filmed that Halloween short with had this same kind of mentality where if you get a second job to like, you know, survive,
Sure.
that people in the industry who might see you in that second job will never see you or take you seriously in the field that you actually want to be in.
Okay.
That was her mentality. His mentality was more so you can't do it because the time doesn't allow for it. And I call bullshit for one, because like you have to pay your bills. You're not going to pay your bills by sitting at a computer all day.
Right.
Writing sample scripts.
Right.
Like, yeah, if that's the path you want to take instead of creating your own thing to produce on your own and you need to send in sample scripts for writing jobs, cool. Amazing. You should do that.
Right.
But the idea that you're doing that 24 hours a day and you cannot physically go get a job to make money, I don't think that's true.
Yeah, I feel like that's such a subjective thing.
Well, and the gag of it all too, before we get into this, is that he was a lawyer. And was, you know, quote unquote, an aspiring writer. So he has a day job and
So
is
he's
also an
doing
aspiring.
that.
So and I was
actually
like,
doing it.
I was like, so you have a job as a lawyer.
Okay. Well, this brings us back to the literal topic of our podcast, of our whole thing, is how to be a rich bitch.
Right.
If you're gonna look down on somebody for having a job, shut the fuck up. Go
For
fuck
real.
yourself. Truly, because
It's just
it took me a long time to get to a point where I wasn't having to do as many things. Also, that's a luxury and it's a privilege. Truly, I think it's also hard work, but it's not. But you could work your ass off, and that doesn't happen. So
right, but also like you
we're in
still
the arts.
do.
I still, but not, that's my point. So then,
Yeah.
and then you can go into the world where no one's seeing me do anything but acting. But I can produce things and make money off that. I can do my private pitch deck business. I can do certain things that are still artistically enriching that people aren't actually looking down on. That gave me stuff, but that was not why I did them. I just wanted to stay creative, be in this field, and make money, lots of money, and that's the whole goal. Without it cutting into my acting, without it cutting in, and it doesn't. So my point is like, it's all subjective. I'm lucky that I even have that. To have the clients I do for certain things, or to have my hand into certain things at a certain level for productions, or at a certain, as a writer too. I've been in a few writers' rooms, and I do get hired as a writer sometime and get paid to write a children's series and stuff like that. All that stuff's happening, but all that's because it took years of me being in this industry and working and having a day job and da da da. So I think it's a luxury that you don't have to do that. I find it nice now that today is really my day. I just made it work for me.
Yeah.
Because I'm fine. That's only happened because I figured out how to be my own boss, but also it took me years of working for someone else or having a day job, to transition into that. And like, again, not everyone can make that transition because life's crazy.
Yeah.
And also we're in the arts, and especially for theater, and it's like, it's not given as a writer too. I'm sure it's so, I can't speak on as a writer, but I can only speak like in the arts field. These are transient things. We book these things and then they're there and then they're not. And like in the meantime, in the between time, if you have the money squirreled away and you can just do that and maybe do like consulting on the side or whatever, great, good for you.
Great.
But that's not everyone's story. So I really don't understand. To me, it's so not cut and dry. It's like another area where someone wants to say it's either this, you have to have a second job, or you don't have a second job. It's good to have one. It's bad to have one. How about it just is what you have to do?
It is what it is, right? And well, it's also,
it's not the best experience ever. I'm sure a lot of people are like, I don't want to work at Starbucks. I want to just be an actor.
Right.
Sure, that's fucking sucks. I'm sorry.
right. But then this comes back to the point that I always make about when I was writing my book. I had a desk job. And I sat at that
utilized
desk, and on my downtime, I would write. And it took me a year, but I wrote that book in a year and was effectively paid to do so because I was at work while I was doing
Right.
it. And so it's just kind of like, I think the idea of like, oh, you can't have a job if you want to effectively be a writer is just reductive.
Right. I'm going
And-
to be devil's advocate for one thing, and I don't agree with this person at all. So let me just be clear.
Okay.
Something I did was I never did, when I was first starting out, background or stand-in work on a show that I wanted to be a principal on. Maybe I would do stand-in, maybe back in the day, but I wanted to so be on certain shows that I felt like if I was I never wanted to be core background back in the day, because that meant that like, and a lot of people kill for that, and like, power to them, but I don't want to be viewed as like the background actor who is in all these scenes, and then when they're auditioning for the co-star / guest star, they're like, wait, that's that girl that's always in like every scene. Like, that's not a good idea to me. That's something I decided not to. But it wasn't because I didn't want to be viewed as like whatever. I'm in the same exact space with other actors. I don't want them to get to know me as someone in the background.
Yeah.
That's something I've done.
Well, and I don't
That
think,
I can understand.
I don't think that that's devil's advocate. I just think that is setting your own plan and intention
Exactly.
for what you want.
But am I damning other people and saying you can't do that?
Absolutely
Nope.
not.
And guess what? I have friends that have done stand-in work on many shows. They're literal living as stand-in and stuff. And they've gotten a couple co-stars on shows because guess what? The cast loves them. Everyone knows who they are. And they sometimes give them they give them one. They're like, you know what? Fuck it. You're amazing. We know you're an actor. So here you go. And like, so great. See, it works out. So I just don't think I think it's so subjective.
It is. And it's also just like, it's
irresponsible
just
to
like,
say something like that too.
yes, because it reeks of privilege. Like,
Yeah.
like, oh, so you can afford to live your whole life
Yeah, with not a
with no job and just write sample scripts until you land something. Okay, good for you.
okay, trust fund child.
That's great. And
Yeah.
and like, you know what, whatever that person's financial situation is,
Lit.
which is
I wish-
obviously better
great.
than anyone's
Great.
because they're a lawyer.
Power to them.
Like, good, great, do that, but then don't impress that upon other people.
Right.
Because then
You're
that
not
just
the
that just
the boundary
scares
for
them
this.
into
You're not
moving
the-
forward.
Yeah, you're not the norm. Like,
No.
just don't act like it.
Don't pretend like your norm is everyone's norm. Like
Yeah.
that's like I've had bosses do that in the past where they kind of make it seem like their way was the way to go.
Right.
But then there's a whole lot of branches around that of privilege that are like, "Oh, but actually you could afford to do that
Mm-hmm.
way because you had X, Y, and Z circumstances that you could of course would have been okay if
Yeah.
it went wrong."
Yeah.
And I've had that conversation with people in the past where it's like, you know what, it doesn't matter to you if this doesn't work because you will be fine.
Yep.
My circumstances are not like that, and so therefore I am approaching this from a different way.
Sure.
And I was thinking about this the other day, the difference between having to work and working.
Yeah.
Like if you work just because you work, and that's just like a thing to do. Like I have friends who have money and they don't need to work, but they do it because like they want something to do.
Yeah.
That's one thing. But if you work because if you don't, you'll starve to death, like
Sure.
you are approaching that from a different perspective.
Or if you work, to create a nest egg for yourself, to
Yeah,
create
and again,
more
that-
wealth,
that
like
comes
whatever
down
your
to, like-
reasonings are, that's your life.
Totally. And that comes down to like the intention and plan.
Right.
Where it's like you were like, okay, so for these particular shows, I don't want to do this because
Yep.
X, Y, and Z.
Yep.
And I think a lot of times creatives of all
And my
kinds.
agents agreed. I mean, I talked to my
Yeah.
team too. I'm like, hi, agent, West Coast agent, East Coast agent. What do you guys feel about blah, blah, blah? Like, this is how I feel about it. And they're like, no, I think that's a really great way to go about it because you don't want to be known for this and that.
Yeah, well, and for people who maybe don't have a team or an agent or whatever, like it's just it really is just about being intentional.
Yes.
Like decide what you want. What do you want? Because again, what I was gonna say is like, I feel like artists and creatives of all types of industry get wrapped up in this whole like, okay, I want to do this, so I have to do everything, and I need to do it all, and I need to do it right now. Scarcity, and I've been there. And
Scarcity and shame. It's
Yes.
either like scarcity where like I need to do everything, or shame like I don't even want to go near that because that's not acting.
Well, and there
you
were
have to have a
100%, and there were some jobs that I took as an actor doing theater that I definitely shouldn't have taken, but I took because I was like, well, I get to say that I'm doing a show. And it's like the shame of not being booked in something.
Yeah, shame
and it's
and
the
fear.
scarcity of like, well, I have this job here and so I should take that because what if I don't book something else for the next couple months? And those two things played. And now, granted, I've met people on those contracts that I'm still friends with and I have amazing relationships with.
So it's worth it.
So it was worth it in that
Everything
sense.
is worth it, I believe. It's just that if you're leading with fear and scarcity,
Right.
it's not going to work the same way as something leading with love.
And I wouldn't trade those friends, but the thought of if I wouldn't have taken that job, what other people would I have met instead that maybe I'd be in a different place? Not that either is worth more than the other. It's just a different.
It's just a different path.
Yeah.
No, that's
but-
my. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, but to the point of the guy that I'm talking about on TikTok.
Yeah, I want to hear
and-
more about this. Yeah.
And the woman that I was working with, like the idea that if you were a bartender at a popular restaurant that theater people go to, and they see you as the bartender there, that they wouldn't possibly be able to see you as something else. I just like that's so like
Fuck them if they
I've
do.
done catering events at theater events. You know what? No one's looking at the cater waiters.
No.
And like I can say this definitively because I've been on both sides of it. I have been the cater waiter, I've been the bartender.
Yeah.
The second they walk away from your tray or your bar, they have forgotten what your face looks like.
Yep.
You're not the focus.
Yep.
And I think that a lot of us would do better, myself included, if we all reminded ourselves that no one is watching you the way that you think everyone's watching you.
Right.
So like making mistakes isn't real because no one is really paying attention to them.
I have a fun story.
Please.
This is a legendary, dope New Yorker kind of story, which I love. One of my mentors, Jim Kerr, which I really need to see again really soon. He's a DJ. He's famous, rock DJ in New York City. Started in Detroit, came over to New York. He's so awesome. Him and Howard Stern had their like fight or whatever. But then when he won the Radio Hall of Fame, everything, Howard Stern was like, you know what? That's my that's my dude right there. We've been fighting for years, but I love him. I love Jim Kerr. So Jim Kerr's a fabulous dude. And I actually met him when I was a waitress at an Upper East Side bar when I first moved to the city. And he's the one who told me to join the union once I was eligible and all this other stuff. Best advice ever. Completely got involved and changed my whole life. Now, his story, though, is so fun because he said one of his favorite bartenders for like years at this one bar that he would go to all the time, his favorite bartender was Bruce Willis. Favorite bartender of all time. And Bruce Willis was constantly bartending up until he booked the lead in, I believe, Moonlighting. I can't remember what it's called, but like the lead in a series, and then was bartending again, and then booked Die Hard, and then it was gone. But he was doing it all the way up until then, and everyone loved him. He used the bar as his like performance. He used the bar as his like he was getting to know everyone. He was learning people's tics. He was learning how like act like as an actor. The more people that you meet, the more people that you know, the better you can play them.
So he was a bartender at a place called Roberts on 10th and 50th.
Yep.
I want to look up. There was someone, I think it was Kevin Bacon.
Yeah.
Who was a bartender at the place that I was a bartender at.
Yeah.
Hang on a minute. I want to look this up.
But yeah, but it was such a cool story because he was like, yeah, and that was our bartender Bruce. And he was a cool guy. Everyone loved him. Outgoing. Super dope. And then one day he was like, yeah, guys, I booked it. I booked something. I'm going to be gone. Then he came back after thing was over. And then he was gone after he booked like bigger stuff. But that didn't stop him from, like, I know that like, and everyone came in that bar, you know? So if you're charismatic, if you're talented, I think just being yourself is the way to be. And if it involves having a day job, great. I hated when they showed that actor from the Bill Cosby Show bagging groceries, remember a few years back, and they were just like slamming him for like bagging, like, oh wow.
Oh, Gary Coleman?
It wasn't Gary Coleman. It wasn't him. It was one of the, it's the guy who dated, I think it was not Denise, one of his daughters. He married one of his daughters. I can remember his name from the show on the Huxtables. But he was basically bagging groceries, and everyone was like, wow, that's sad. Wow. And he's like, guys, you don't realize like residuals are in, blah, blah. But he's like, but I'm retired and I like to work. And then it's also making me extra money. Why do you feel bad for me? And like, just relax. Like, I think there's just so much judgment and fear. I think it's really not anyone's call. I think it's like whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
Because I think the true way to become a rich bitch is like not defining yourself by how other people see you. Because that's literally what that guy's saying, right? He's saying how people see you, define your work on that, right? Because they're gonna say, "I don't see you as this."
Well, I think that's what the actress was saying.
Oh, okay.
I think the writer was just saying that it's not possible to have a second job when you're trying to write sample scripts for writing jobs.
Sure. So how do you write when you're homeless next to a barrel, like with kerosene and fire?
Right.
I don't really understand that.
It just didn't make sense.
I'd have to watch this. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll send you the video.
Yeah.
And we had a little comment back and forth, but I was like, it wasn't real drama. It was just like him trying to be like, nah, man, you're wrong. I was like, but I know writers.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, Misha's a great example.
Yeah.
You know, she still works.
Yeah.
But like she also has a writing job, so
Yeah.
she doesn't have to right now.
So sometimes I'll be in a writer's room and I still do all my acting stuff, but I enjoy it. I enjoy writing. So I don't know. I don't know, man. I'm not in the guild though, and I don't think Misha is, but I'm not in the guild, and I don't know if he's saying as a writer's guild member, like if you're on a project, sure you don't have time, but like in between, I'm just
right.
confused.
It's the in between that he was talking about.
I just don't get it, man.
I don't either.
Maybe
was
he
so
just
weird.
doesn't have time. Maybe he just doesn't have time. Great. Cool.
Well, I mean, being a lawyer and everything.
Being a lawyer and everything.
You know, all that
Sure.
all that money you're
I
making.
wouldn't have time, I guess, if I was a
guess.
lawyer
I
/
don't-
writer. Again, it seems like it's so subjective, and it seems like to blanketly say anything is wrong, in my opinion.
Well, and that's also why
It's a blanket statement.
a lot of these
Love that. Love
the
that.
meta of it all. A lot of these like coaches online that are specific to actors or whatnot, like you know, like you're giving advice based on a blanket statement on your experience, but if your experience isn't like the same as the person you're talking to, then like that advice is going to be different.
Yeah, and I've coached people before in terms of their acting, and all I do is I try to take their position and what they have. What are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? What is their family life like? What is their whatever? And then create like a very possible situation where they're able to be successful.
Well, I mean
and that's
coaching,
different.
like career coaching.
That's what I mean.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm talking about.
I
Like,
thought you meant like acting coaching.
well, career coaching.
Right.
Completely that. Yeah. I'm doing that for a writer in LA and then an actress in New York. And just I don't have time to take anymore, and I won't, and I will when I feel like it.
No, but there's one person.
But
that I'm
everything
thinking
is different. Everyone's different. Is that's what I mean. It's like I can't blanketly say what worked for me, but I can say what worked for me and then see if they are applying that and how is that working for them, and also like what they're finding, or what I'm currently finding in our lexicon.
Well, and I also think it's very, again, and this comes down to rich bitch mentality of like no nepo babies, but like there's a couple people in particular that I'm thinking of who are coaches, who are actors, who had full-time acting careers and now they're coaches for actors.
Yeah.
But they come from incredibly wealthy families.
Okay. Yeah.
And so why would someone who does not have that experience listen to you?
Right.
Because you have a monetary advantage, but I'm assuming you also have a connection advantage.
Right.
You know, like, I don't want career advice from someone who grew up in a multi-million-dollar family who could just buy their way into the industry. You
Or
know, and
give me an
unfortunately,
interview with them.
right. Like, unfortunately, we're in a world now more than ever that everything is pay for play. And so, like, you do have to have money to do things, but like, let's be transparent about that.
Right.
I'm okay with it. Just don't
that's all
just
I'm
don't
asking.
fuck with me. Like this person, I feel like these people that I'm thinking about should just come out and say, like, listen, my family owns this massive conglomerate. They invented it.
Yeah.
And they have boatloads of money, and this has been my experience, and I'm telling you about it. And if you find value from it, great. If you want to be a client, pay me X amount of money and I'll do it. And but like no one's gonna do that because the rags to riches story is so much more interesting.
Oh, it is. Yeah, that's true.
I'm bored. Bored to death.
Bored to death of it.
Just tell me the fucking truth. I'm tired.
just tell
I'm
me
tired
what's
of
up.
like this industry veil of like the idea of like, oh, they are overnight success. Oh, they made it on their own. Oh, they came from
So much hard
nothing.
work. Well, I actually had a phone call with somebody who's an actor who is trying to figure out financially how to balance, you know, and they called me and just had some questions about like what am I doing or whatever. And the problem with it sometimes is that I can't tell them to make their own business to make blank. I can't tell them to do this or that because a lot of those are skill sets that I just have. You know what I mean? Like I can say to them, this is where it is helpful. Is like, well, what do you do creative, or what do you do something that you're good at? That's like something you just enjoy that you could actually monetize. Right.
Right. Well, and I think again, it comes back to that whole scarcity, like anxiety around scarcity.
You don't need me to tell you what to do. I think you need to ask yourself, what do I love doing? What do I enjoy doing? And am I proud enough of myself and believe enough in myself, have rich bitch mentality to where I can put it up there, but for a fee.
Yeah. Well, and the point I was gonna make is like the anxiety around scarcity is really just looking at other people and what they're doing and wondering why you're not doing it, when really what you should be doing is looking at what you are doing and figuring out a way to make money doing that.
Yes, because everyone is so different. For me to just say, do this and that, yes, I can say this production company do this, or maybe as an actor, like make sure this and that is that. Be on these websites, blah, blah, blah. But like when it really comes down to it, you know, I'm booking stuff because I'm booking it, or it's something I've created for myself, an avenue I've created for myself. And like creating yourselves, your avenues for yourself is so empowering. And like that's so all it is. Like,
and
so blanket statements to me are so stupid.
So stupid. And this also kind of ties into like what I do with social media and stuff too.
Yep.
Because like I saw a TikTok this morning where this woman was like, go into the trend section of your TikTok and look at all the things that are trending and then make content like that. And I'm like, that's not advice. Like that's like copy everyone else.
Fade into the wave.
I don't know if you want to call it coaching, but I never suggest making content based on trends because that has nothing to do with you. And then people aren't following you for you. Yeah. And then you can't monetize what you want to monetize because they weren't following you for that in the first place.
Mm-hmm. They're following you for like a fad and then it's over now. And now what are they doing?
Exactly.
What are you? Who are you? That's really the thing is like knowing who you are, knowing what you offer,
Know, like,
knowing
and
that you're
trust.
good at it,
Yep.
at being yourself. Because guess what? You're the only person who's yourself. So you're the only one good at it.
Well, and the three things of sales are know, like, and trust. If you know, like, and trust the person that you want to buy from, you're more likely to buy from them than if you don't like them, don't know them, don't trust them.
Facts.
But that also goes for you. You have to know, like, and trust yourself.
Yes, you have to look in the mirror and say, like, I deserve all the things I want. I'm good enough for this, and I'm not waiting for anything. I'm just gonna do it.
Let's say that together.
I don't know what I said.
Don't know what you said.
It's so long.
I try to follow it. I try to follow
We'll
it away in
replay
my brain. Okay.
But basically, just looking in the mirror and giving yourself permission. Like, I deserve everything I want in life.
Yes, I deserve everything I want in life.
Yep. I don't need anyone's permission to go after what I want.
I don't need anyone's permission to go after what I want.
And I have every right to enjoy every bit of it.
And I have every right to enjoy every bit of it.
Yeah.
Now, everyone say that to yourself
Yeah, say
10
that to yourself
times
12
in the
times.
mirror, looking at yourself.
But seriously,
in the
there's
face.
times where I was the one holding me back, and I'm sure right now I am too. There's certain voiceover opportunities.
God,
I
I
think.
fucking know I
I know
am.
I am. We all do it. So like the point is we all do it. But I'm gonna be clear here. I built a voiceover booth. I booked shit already. And yet I still haven't submitted anything to a couple agents that I have an in on because I was waiting for the right time to create the right demo, to create the right blah, 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 to do the right blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, why am I being like this? Just send them the shit I booked and be like, look, I'm booking work. Check it out. I booked this and I recorded this at my home studio.
Waiting is very rarely the
Stupid.
answer.
Yeah.
It's just like, fucking do it already.
Just do it. So I did that. And so literally today I'm sending over the thing. As soon as I get it, I'm asking the engineer to send it to me. This is an internal thing, but it's so good and I sound amazing. So I'm like, send it to me, and so I can send it to an agent. Please, thank you, bye.
Please and thank you, bye.
But that's it. I mean, I'm saying we all do it. So that's my point. Even I'm doing it. Even I'm doing it when I know I got it and when I know it's fine and everything's cool. We all do it.
Yeah.
But it is a self-sabotage thing. It's truly
It
that.
is. That was kind of one of the first things that we talked about when you came over today, is like this blockage that I have in my brain to like do something.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, I feel completely paralyzed doing it. And it is, and you totally clocked it. It's burnout. And like,
I know what it
it's
is,
hard facing that when I have spent the last year in an environment where burnout wasn't considered to be real.
Oof.
And that it was a
Wrong.
choice. And it's like, okay, yeah.
Burnout is so fucking real. Like last night I got in off a plane. We went out to dinner and we had a fun night. Kiki chilled, loved it. But I'm still like, I did a million things this morning. I've been all over the city. We're coming here recording this. I'm aware that I'm doing a lot, and I have to be careful because there will be a time where I'm just like, I don't really feel like doing this one thing and I'm not going to do it. And it's burnout.
Yeah.
It's burnout. Burnout really comes to you. It comes to you when you're trying your hardest and you're doing all your things, but sometimes it's just like so that's the time to be like kind to yourself and do things that you enjoy.
Well, and I will also say that New Yorkers burn out like no other people.
We
are
are
champions
are-
at the burnout.
Like high burnout league, it's the New Yorkers. We're here. We
Right.
just won. It's
We
the World
are
Series of burnout.
MVP trophy winning.
Congrats.
burnout.
Yeah, we overdo it. I mean, if you go anywhere else and you say like, hi, I do this, that, and this, and that, and this, and that. I'll talk to my mother in Virginia and she'll just be like, I don't know how you're like
Same.
fine. And
My
I'm
mom
like,
is
what do you
always like,
mean? I'm
you've
good."
lived enough life for 5 people.
Yeah, right? You hear
And I'm like,
that a
but I'm
lot.
not doing anything.
No. Oh my God, yes. And then you're like, so I've had to stop that I'm not doing anything shit because that's like so detrimental too.
Oh my God, 100%.
Because it just creates more of that burnout because a burnout situation doesn't happen because you're doing too much. It's because you're doing too much and not acknowledging it and just keeping it moving forward.
I always think of this conversation always reminds me of like tires that are stuck in snow.
Yes,
Where you're
or
like
mud.
stepping on the gas and they're just spinning and nothing is happening and the car is going nowhere.
and you're like,
and you're just digging a bigger and deeper hole for
because
yourself.
you're fearful and you're weighing that shit down. And when you lighten the fuck up and you realize that like, hey, it ain't that deep. Like I'm not a bad person because I didn't work out. I'm not a bad person because I didn't send the damn voiceover. Guess what I can do tomorrow? Send the damn voiceover. That's what I can do in an hour from now. Send the damn voiceover.
Yeah.
Like it can change like that. Just all the things. That's the other thing. It's like all the things that are like with burnout, things also become so much bigger than they are because they're compiling on an exhaustive level that you haven't handled. So here's my also Sarah's tonic for that. Meditate for real. Be still. Meditate, baby. Do a followed like meditation, like someone's talking to you and moving you through it. Because if you just let your mind wander, you're like but like do a good meditation.
Guilty.
Yeah, no, same. I'm a type A psycho. Like I appreciate it. It's like it is what it is. But meditation like really grounds you. A guided meditation, whether it's Headspace, whether it's something online, whatever you can find for free, just do it. That's
Not
the first thing,
sponsored.
clarity. Second thing, take the time, just sit down and write 3 pages stream of consciousness of anything. Fuckity fuck, stupid fuck. I've written that for 3 pages. That's fine. It gets it out of you, right? It's like an expelling, and then get some good sleep. And I'm telling you, if you do those 3
I've
things,
got that part down.
yeah, if you do those 3 things for real, you will feel like you're okay, taking a deep breath, and I'm going to go do that thing that scared the shit out of me. Or I'm going to do the thing that I've been putting off. Or I'm not going to do it. I'm going to do something else that's just as great.
Yeah, I got to tell you, while you were saying that, I was remembering I had this conversation with my dad the other night. He, because of you, has gotten The Artist's Way, and he's started it.
Oh my God. First off, can we just talk about how much I love your dad? I've never met him. He is already winning.
Shout out to my dad.
Shout out to Dad.
MattMiskey.com. Go listen to
Mr.
him.
Miskey, thank you.
But yeah, he started The Artist's Way. He found a copy of it at some local
gonna
bookstore.
change his life.
Yeah.
Truly.
And I was like, oh,
No
God.
pressure, but it's
I was
meant
like,
literally
Dad,
changes.
I was like, do you know how many times Sarah's told me to do this? Now you're beating me here.
Yep.
And now
Just
I'm
fucking
like,
do it.
shit, now I have to go do it.
It literally doesn't take a lot of time at all. In fact, I think I'm gonna do the sequel again because I'll get halfway through the sequel and I don't finish. But yeah, The Artist's Way, honey, is
Not sponsored, but hey.
honey, I'll say her name to the rafters, but I will just say it changed my life. Over COVID, I did it. Post divorce, post writer's block, post so many things, and I was prolific as I was doing it. It just changed my whole.
I mean, you're pretty prolific anyway.
Thank you, I love you. But like, The Artist's Way helped me get my show on Amazon mentally and manifesty. It helped me ground myself. It helped me write 2 series during lockdown. It helped me hire a publicist because I had the audacity to do it. You know what I mean? And I don't think I had it. I think I had the audacity. I just was telling myself, wait, not yet. It's not the time.
Yeah.
Or like, it's not the perfect time. Writing the Diva Doctor scenes might not win it. Fuck that. It might, of course, sure, it's crazy, but get your name out there.
Yeah.
Get it done.
I mean, that was literally yesterday when we were talking about my pitch deck situation because I finally like sat down. I had started it, but I never really like dove in.
Sure.
And yesterday I was doing it because I was like, why are you waiting?
Yes.
Like, what are you waiting for? Like, there's literally nothing. I've said out loud, the next step is doing the pitch deck. So just go fucking do it. And so I did it. And like a whole different sector of my brain
A whole
opened
new world.
up.
A dazzling. Yeah, no. A dazzling place we might have known. Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. No, we're singing so many songs on here. This is
I
like
know,
the
we're
episode
gonna
that
get canned.
like, bye, bitch. Well, I mean, I feel like this has been a great episode. I think we went through
We've covered so much.
and it just naturally happened, you guys. What we love about this podcast is we kind of just start talking about specific
we're
things in our
just
lives. 'Cause
hanging
we
out
have
in my
exciting
living
things
room.
happening.
Yeah.
But like you had the Tonys, I'm here involved in SAG-AFTRA a lot. I have a couple cool things, but I can't talk about them yet. But I'm just really excited that we're both doing our thing and we're human beings and we're going to have 2 steps forward, 1 step back, blah, 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 opposites attract. Again, another song. But I just think it's very important for our listeners to know that, like, to be a rich bitch, you have to have that mentality. And burnout is real. Burnout is real. To say something isn't real to someone who's in a burnout is so stupid. It's like saying depression's not real to a depressed person. It's like saying your sickness isn't real to a sick person. It's stupid.
It's narcissistic abuse patterns.
Gaslighting. That's not a song. That's our song. The gaslighting song. But yeah, so hang in there, guys. Shout out to your dad.
Shout out to my dad.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that at the end of some of the podcasts. I'll be like, shout out to your dad.
Yeah. I'll keep you updated on his on
His
the way of
artist
his
way.
artist.
But I think everyone here should check it out. It's for everyone from an engineer to a school teacher to an artist to we're all artists. That's the whole freaking point is that we're all artists and human beings were put on this earth not to type, swipe. We were put on this earth to be. And one of the things of being is art. And that's in us. So do it.
Do it.
Do it. We love you guys, and we'll
Love
see you
you.
on the next episode of How to
How to
Be
be
a
a rich bitch.
You're so rich.
Pay me.